But we begin tonight with the 2020 election and special counsel Jack Smith's newest legal filing that lays out in clear terms how candidate Trump, in his personal capacity, lost that 2020 presidential election and resorted to crimes to try to stay in office anyway. This brand new filing came after Leonard Leo's 6 blessed Donald Trump with broad immunity as a former president for official acts taken while in office. With this document, the special counsel is trying to convince U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan that Trump's crimes are not protected by presidential immunity because they were committed as a private citizen or as a candidate for office. And while we've known about the alleged crimes, today's filing outlines stunning new details of how Trump and his alleged co-conspirators perpetrated this crime against all Americans. According to Smith, what fueled the multiple crimes was Trump's deceits and desperate efforts to use knowingly false claims of election fraud to disrupt the electoral process. Trump knew the election was close. He knew it would take time to count ballots and that his lead would vanish. Privately, he told the vice president's chief of staff that he would simply declare victory before all the ballots were counted. And every lie after would work towards the same goal, ending the American democratic process. According to Smith, in the immediate post-election period, while the defendant claimed fraud without proof, his private operatives sought to create chaos. To that point, Smith explains how a campaign employee who was at a ballot counting location in Detroit, Michigan, ordered a colleague to, quote, give me options to file litigation, even if it's BS. The colleague then suggested that there was about to be unrest, reminiscent of the Brooks Brothers riot, a violent effort to stop the vote count in Florida after the 2000 presidential election. A Trump campaign staffer responded, make them riot. Do it. A few weeks later, a lawyer for the Republican National Committee told the RNC spokesperson that one of Trump's Nevada lawsuits regarding dead voters had little chance of succeeding because the claims weren't substantiated. That accurate legal analysis was forwarded to a Trump White House staffer 5 days before Trump amplified the lies in the lawsuit. That same RNC lawyer was highly critical of Rudy Giuliani, who was Trump's personal lawyer, and spearheading the very public legal campaign boosting false allegations in court. The RNC lawyer said, what Giuliani and others are doing is a joke, and they are getting laughed out of court. According to Smith, Rudy didn't like that and threatened to have Trump fire him. Days later, Rudy called RNC chair Ronna McDaniel and had him relieved of his duties. All of these examples link individuals who were working on behalf of Trump in his private capacity as a candidate. And they all knowingly lied to undermine the election with the goal of decertifying on January 6th, which brings us to former Vice President Mike Pence. In this newly unsealed document, Smith explains to Chutkan how he intends to prove that conversations between Trump and Pence were not conversations about Pence's official responsibilities, but rather in private capacities as running mates. This will be a key argument since Pence was a primary witness to Trump's illegal activity, currently cloaked in protection thanks to the Leonard Leo 6. What Judge Chutkan decides will determine if the case survives. But what you decide at the ballot box will determine if Donald Trump will ever be held accountable for his crimes against our democracy. Joining me now is Katie Phang, trial attorney and host of The Katie Phang Show, Hugo Lowell, senior political correspondent for The Guardian, and Michael Steele, host of MSNBC's The Weekend and the former chairman of the Republican National Committee. Thank you all. Katie, I do want to start with you. Here's a filing. I have been rifling through it, reading through it as fast as I can, but I'm sure you have gotten a lot further than I have and understand it a lot more thoroughly. Tell us what is new here and what is new here that Judge Chutkan will have to deal with in determining whether these are official acts.
Yes, so Joy, it's a 165-page filing, and we knew that. We knew that because previously Jack Smith, as special counsel, indicated that he had complied with instructions to be able to file a redacted version of the document. And it had to be filed under seal, meaning we could not initially see it because until Judge Chutkan made a determination, none of us are going to be able to get the contents. And frankly, the redactions are really not a lot. And what Judge Chutkan did was say wholesale, I agree with you, Jack Smith. What you're seeking is not only legal, but appropriate in this case. And what's interesting is Donald Trump actually didn't disagree with Jack Smith. He wanted further redactions, and hypocritically because he said he was in fear for the safety of prospective witnesses, et cetera, which again, the hypocrisy abounds. But most importantly, what we see here is a very tight, very well-written document that allows the American public to fully explore the extent of the criminality of Donald Trump. To your point, we knew that crimes were being committed, but you had to operate, if you're Jack Smith, within the confines of the Supreme Court. And you had to tee it up in a way that allows Judge Chutkan to do her job, which is to make factual findings as to the conduct of Donald Trump. And the law is clear. And what Jack Smith does is he weaves in the law, but you got 85 pages, Joy, of straight up facts and evidence as supported by the appendix, meaning the exhibits that were filed by Jack Smith. But after those 85 pages, Jack Smith makes it clear that the law does not allow a private citizen or a candidate for office to be able to get immunity for that conduct. And so there is new information that is contained within this filing, but what's not new is thematically the idea that Donald Trump would stop at nothing, would commit crimes to ensure that he cheated the American people of their vote in 2020.
Right. I mean, Hugo, you can go through it. In the Smith filing, a White House staffer said that he overheard Trump say, win or lose, you have to fight like hell. There's a person named P15 who's a White House aide and Trump's body man in the West Wing. His name is Nick Luna. He testified before a federal grand jury in 2023. Smith says that Luna overheard Trump say to Melania, daughter and son-in-law, and presumably Jared and Ivanka, while aboard Marine One, Smith considers the statement to be private. So he heard Trump overtell family members, it doesn't matter if you win or lose the election, you have to fight like hell. What this indicates, to my reading of it, is that Donald Trump was told numerous times he lost the election. He knew he lost the election, but that his strategy going in was, I'm just going to say I won.
Look, among the new parts of the evidence that was presented in this brief was, number one, Trump was talking with all sorts of people pre-election, October 2020, that he was going to do this, that he was going to sow doubt in the outcome of the election, regardless of what happened. Because if he won, it's great, he won. But if he lost, he was going to say, well, I won anyway. And this was pre-planned. And, Jack Smith goes to great lengths to say, this is clearly a conspiracy if even before the election, you are going to say you're going to basically say, I won anyway. So that was number one. Number two, there is this theme that Jack Smith comes back to over and over again in trying to show that they can continue with this case to trial. And that is, Trump consistently used other people to do his dirty work. And if you're using other people, private actors, to do your bidding to get, for instance, to pressure Pence to object to the certification on January 6th, that is a crime. And by the way, that's not in the confines of the official conduct of the presidency.
Yeah.
Because presidents don't get private actors to go do their things to then commit crimes. And that is a theme that comes over and over again. And it's, Nick Luna, for instance, is actually a really interesting example you bring up, because Nick Luna now is on J.D. Vance's team. He's back with the Trump campaign after taking some time out. And so these people are coming back into the fold. And this is a reminder of just what they went through and what the situation was in 2020.
And by the way, Michael Steele, I mean, the Pence part of it is really interesting, because you have all of these numerous instances after the election in which Pence is sort of walking Donald Trump like he's a 2-year-old and saying, it's fine that you want to do your lawsuits, you want to do your thing, but at a certain point, big boy, you've got to try to be a big boy and admit that you lost. And he keeps trying to sort of walk him gently to this point, to which Donald Trump responds by saying, if people want to hang Mike Pence, they should just do it because he's too weak to help me.
Yeah, I think in many respects, that's probably one of the more stunning moments. There are many, and that's saying something, because you have Trump being told what's happening, and he's basically, well, I don't care.
Right.
So what? So what? So what they want to hang him? Good riddance.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything for me. He didn't help me. He didn't do what I wanted to do. So that is very, very damning, and it gives you a sense of exactly going back to what Hugo was saying, this space that Donald Trump had created long before we get to January 6th, in which he laid down the predicate for what was going to happen that day, that he was so callous in his thinking that he didn't care. He would never care. When you start out by saying, well, I know you're telling me that, this is the way the process is. I know you're telling me, Mike Pence or legal team or fill in the blank, what you think this is. But I'm telling you what it's going to be. It doesn't matter if I win or lose, because this is going to be the outcome I want. And so I think that what you see Jack Smith doing here, saying, all right, you've tried to screw with this case at every turn. And we're here now because your lawyers wanted to protract this thing out and push it back, hoping that the whole thing would just blow up under its own weight in the judicial system. But he carved out that space, right? It's like in this raging storm of appeals and the BS that Jack Smith had to go through. He said he went through and he carved out all of these pieces, and he has intricately linked them together to show, all right, you want to talk about personal acts? You want to talk about non-presidential acts? Well, here they are, Judge Chutkan. And the Supreme Court, you can choke on this because here it is.
Yeah.
It's amazing what's in those 160 pages.